June 6, 1944. The largest seaborne invasion in the history of warfare is about to begin. Nearly 3 million men, 11,000 aircraft, 7,000 ships, all of it pointed at a 50-mile stretch of fortified coastline in northern France. The plan has taken 2 years to build. The deception behind it even longer. And in the early hours of this Tuesday morning, as the first paratroopers fall silently through the darkness over Normandy, everything depends on whether it works. This is D-Day, Operation Overlord. The day the Allies decided to take the war back to Hitler and bet everything on a single morning. To understand why D-Day happened the way it did, you need to understand the problem the Allies were facing by 1943. The Soviet Union is bleeding out on the Eastern Front, losing millions of men fighting the bulk of the German army. Stalin is desperate for the Western Allies to open a second front, to pull German divisions away from the East. Churchill and Roosevelt know it has to be done. The question is where, and how, and when. The English Channel is the obvious crossing point. But the Germans know it too. Since 1942, Hitler has been building what he calls the Atlantic Wall. The Atlantic Wall. A 4,000-mile chain of bunkers, artillery batteries, minefields, and obstacles stretching from Norway to the Spanish border. Commanded by one of Germany's most respected military minds, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, brought in specifically to make the coastline impenetrable. Rommel's philosophy is brutal and clear. He believes that if the Allies ever set foot on the beach, the battle is already lost for Germany. The invasion must be stopped at the waterline in the first hours before the Allies can consolidate. His orders: flood the fields, mine the beaches, plant steel obstacles in the surf, position the panzers close to the coast for an immediate counterattack. It is a formidable defense. Breaking through it will require not just courage, but an elaborate, audacious plan built around one of the greatest deceptions in military history. The Allies call it Operation Bodyguard. The goal is simple: make the Germans believe the invasion is coming somewhere else. The most important piece of this deception is Operation Fortitude, a fictional army group, stationed in southeast England, directly across from the Pas de Calais. Complete with fake radio traffic, inflatable tanks, and a commanding general chosen specifically because the Germans would believe him capable of leading the real invasion. That general is George S. Patton, the most feared American commander in Nazi intelligence files. The deception works beyond anyone's expectations. Hitler becomes convinced the real landing will come at Calais, the shortest crossing point. Even when the Normandy landings begin, he will hesitate for critical hours, holding his panzer reserves back, waiting for the real attack that never comes. That hesitation will cost Germany the battle. But deception alone cannot win a beach. For that, you need a plan of almost impossible complexity. Operation Overlord divides the Normandy coastline into 5 beaches. The Americans will assault Utah and Omaha on the western flank. The British will take Gold and Sword. The Canadians will land at Juno in the center. Each beach has its own geography, its own defenses, its own tactical challenges. And each will tell a different story on June 6th. The night before the landings, over 13,000 American and British paratroopers drop behind enemy lines. Their mission is critical: seize key bridges, disrupt German communications, and prevent panzer divisions from reaching the beaches before the seaborne troops can establish a foothold. The American 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions drop into Normandy in chaos. scattered by clouds and anti-aircraft fire, men landing miles from their objectives. And yet, in that chaos, something unexpected happens. Small groups of paratroopers, lost and leaderless, begin improvising. They attack German positions independently, create confusion, cut phone lines, blow up ammunition depots. The Germans, unable to get a clear picture of what is happening, freeze. It is messy, it is costly, but it works. At the eastern end of the beach line, the British 6th Airborne Division lands with more precision. Their most critical objective, Pegasus Bridge, a canal crossing that could allow German armor to sweep in and cut the entire landing zone in half. In one of the most daring operations of the war, Major John Howard leads a glider assault directly onto the bridge, landing within meters of the target in the dead of night. The bridge is taken in 10 minutes. It is held until relief arrives the next day. Pegasus Bridge will become one of the most celebrated small unit actions of the entire war. As dawn breaks, the naval bombardment begins. Over 1,000 Allied warships open fire on the German fortifications. The noise is described by witnesses as something beyond human comprehension. The entire horizon on fire. For the soldiers packed into landing craft, cold, seasick, terrified, it is the only comfort they have. And then the ramps go down. Utah Beach, on the far western flank, goes better than anyone dared hope. A navigational error actually pushes the landing craft 2 kilometers off course, accidentally onto a section of beach with lighter defenses. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr., the oldest man in the landing force and the only general to go ashore with the first wave, surveys the situation and makes a decision that will be remembered forever. "We'll start the war from here," he says. The Americans push inland quickly, linking up with elements of the 101st Airborne by late morning. Utah will cost fewer than 200 casualties. Omaha Beach is a different world entirely. Omaha is a natural kill zone. A crescent-shaped beach overlooked by bluffs up to 40 meters high, defended by the best-positioned German division in all of Normandy. The 352nd Infantry Division, veterans, well dug in, with overlapping fields of fire covering every inch of the sand. The pre-landing bombardment misses most of the German bunkers. The specialized tanks designed to support the infantry are launched too far out and sink in the heavy surf. The landing craft hit the wrong sectors. Men wade ashore into water up to their chests, carrying 60 pounds of equipment under withering machine gun fire. Within minutes of the first wave hitting the beach, the situation is catastrophic. Bodies float in the surf. Men shelter behind beach obstacles, unable to move. Officers are killed before they can organize. For several hours, the outcome at Omaha is genuinely in doubt. Senior commanders offshore consider abandoning the beach entirely. What saves Omaha is not a grand tactical maneuver. It is individual soldiers, sergeants, and junior officers deciding in those moments of absolute chaos to move forward. Colonel George Taylor walks the beach under fire and says words that become legend. "Two kinds of people are staying on this beach, the dead and those who are going to die. Now let's get the hell out of here." Small groups begin blowing gaps in the wire. They find the draws, the natural gullies leading up the bluffs. They climb, and slowly, painfully, they begin to take the high ground. By nightfall, Omaha is secured, but it has cost nearly 2,000 American casualties in a single day. On the British and Canadian beaches, the story is different again. Gold, Juno, and Sword face serious resistance, But the combination of specialized armored vehicles, the famous Hobart's funnies, tanks fitted with flails to detonate mines, bridges to cross obstacles, flamethrowers, gives the infantry crucial support that the Americans at Omaha never had. The Canadians at Juno pushed further inland on D-Day than any other Allied force, reaching their objectives by afternoon despite ferocious fighting in the beach villages. The Germans, meanwhile, are paralyzed. Rommel is in Germany for his wife's birthday. His superiors cannot agree on whether to release the Panzer reserves. Hitler is asleep, and his staff are too afraid to wake him. When the order to move the tanks finally comes, it is too late. Allied air power is now patrolling the roads, destroying everything that moves in daylight. The window to push the Allies back into the sea closes hour by hour. By the end of June 6, 1944, approximately 156,000 Allied troops have landed on the beaches of Normandy. Over 10,000 have been killed, wounded, or gone missing. It is a staggering price. But the beachhead holds. The Atlantic Wall, 4 years and millions of slave labor hours in the making, has been breached in a single day. What made D-Day succeed was not any single act of heroism, though there were thousands. It was the convergence of meticulous planning, strategic deception, hard-won air superiority, and the irreplaceable willingness of ordinary men to walk into the most defended coastline on Earth and keep moving forward. Hitler had built a fortress. The Allies had found the door. And on the morning of June 6, 1944, they kicked it open. The liberation of Western Europe had begun. Paris would be free in 79 days. Berlin would fall in less than a year. The war that had consumed the world for 5 years was entering its final chapter. And it had started here, on these beaches, in the gray light of a Norman dawn. That was D-Day, the operation that changed the course of the Second World War. The planning, the deception, the sacrifice, and the sheer audacity of what the Allied forces pulled off on June 6, 1944, remains one of the most extraordinary military achievements in human history. If stories like this are what brought you here, make sure you're subscribed to War Origins. There's a lot more where this came from. We'll see you in the next one.